Creative Pages with Catherine. I'm Catherine. Today I'm participating in the Latina Next Door's High-End Challenge. I found the Natural Circles paper wall art on the Crate and Barrel website for $249. And I just couldn't resist making my interpretation of this. I found a picture frame in my garage I had picked up at a thrift store for $4, and we are going to be painting it. I have some Waverly ink colored acrylic paint that we're going to use on the brown wood tone part of this frame. I'm going to remove the glass and clean it up, and then I will show you how to do the circles inside the frame. But first things first, we are going to get this frame fixed up. Let's get this interior out. You can see probably why it was in my garage was that it's a little bit broken, but you know what, when we're done I actually think I'm going to hang it anyways, so I really don't care that I can't put it on a table, although why I would have put it on a table with the writing on it, I don't know. So I'm just going to use a thinner brush here to do the interior. Let me set down a piece of paper, and then I will use a slightly thicker brush for the exterior. And y'all can do this too. We'll see what that looks like when it dries, if it needs a second coat or not. Here I go with the exterior part. Let me pulled out my 12-inch trimmer, and the pages that we're going to use for our circle design on our art that we're getting ready to create, our wall art. And today I'm going to be using our Devotion designer papers. I've picked out this sheet, which we're going to use as the base on this side, the kind of a khaki-ish base. That's going to go on top of our insert for our frame. We're going to cut that down, and we're going to use this gray marble look for our actual circles. It's the sheet that has love across it on the back side of it. So here we go. Let's go ahead and cut our base. When I measured our frame piece, it was just under 8 inches. Because remember, it's an 8 by 10 frame. and it was just over 10. Actually, let me double check this to make sure, because I think it was 10 and an eighth. Yes. Okay. So as you can see, our piece of designer paper is going to cover our brown cardboard holder nicely. We can go ahead and put our 12-inch trimmers away. Next, you want to pull out your 13 by 13 cutting mat, your circle cutter, and we're going to be using not only the circle cutter but also our custom cutting system, small and medium circles. Before I actually put my cutting mat down, I have my medium and my small custom cutting system circles. I have my circle cutter, and I want to show you all. I have a piece of drawer liner for the kitchens, the kind of the non-skid kind that keeps your silverware thing from moving around. Well, this is going to keep our mat from moving around as we cut our circles. Now I'm going to grab my circle cutter and do some circles with that, starting at the 8 on the inch measures, and I'm going to work my way down to 3.2. We're going to bring down the cutter 0.2, or actually 2 of these little white lines every time. So we're going to start large and go small. So I'm going to try to center my circle cutter here in the middle of the page. You can see we have lines here that kind of guide us. There are centimeters on this side, but we're not using the centimeters today. We're using inches. And essentially you have where a pen can go on this end. That's what these black lines on the circle cutter are to help guide you with that. But you can see on my cutting mat I have the 6-inch mark here and the 6-inch marks here. And I'm going to go ahead and center my circle cutter, just eyeballing it. I'm going to press down, and then I'm going to start cutting, moving it 0.4 of an inch every time. Okay, so that's done. At one point I did need to angle my circle cutter because these outer rings and my paper itself kind of started to move up. I am going to take my multi-purpose tool and lift up all these rings, and we kind of want to try to keep them in order if we can, but I'll show you what we're going to do with these in just a moment. Go ahead and set them aside. You want to keep each one of the sets you cut together. And let me set aside my circle cutter. I'm going to grab my blue and red blade again with my medium circle from my custom cutting system. Go ahead and angle up your circle. Make sure you get both your pegs into your track here on the inside. You can just pull that other circle out if it pops up like mine did. And now, without moving your circle as much as you can, I still have to angle up just a little. Go ahead and cut around. And we get this really nice interior ring here. The size that we get off of our custom cutting system is right around 1/4 of an inch. And on the circle cutter, since we were just moving 2/10 of an inch, it's going to be just a little bit thinner, but that's okay because I kind of want the center of the circle to be a little bit more defined, just as it was in the inspiration piece. And I'm going to take a corner of my paper. I've got my 2 pegs on the inside track with my blue blade to cut one more ring, which is kind of going to be our anchoring ring for our circle design. We actually need to do this 4 times because we will have this ring is going to kind of be our focal point of our circle centers on our wall art. So blue blade and then red blade. Inside track. And if something doesn't cut through quite all the way like mine did, just grab your micro tip scissors and give it a little snip. This is why working with paper is fun. It's easy to correct. There's 2. Here's going to be number 3. Blue first again. And I'm keeping the center circles from our cutouts just in case we might utilize them. One of my things is taking scraps and using them to make cards from a lot of our projects. But this one I might actually be able to utilize that in our project. We'll have to see what it looks like as it comes together. All right, so there's number 4 of that one. The next thing that we're gonna do is take all of our circles. So this one was from our custom cutting system. I'm just gonna set that one aside for right now. But we're gonna pull apart. Okay, I need to grab my scissors for this one. And it's okay if it's not perfect because this is our set that we're going to be cutting into halves and quarters. And what I want to do is separate out every other ring. So when we go to do our art, we'll have kind of 2 sort of spiraled circles. So this is our largest circle here, and then this one is our next largest, and so forth. So I'm just going through and separating as I go, and I have another little part that didn't work out nicely for me. You can kind of see where the piece is sticking up, and I'm actually just gonna trim that out, because once the design is really going, you're not going to notice that there's a little piece missing. No big deal. Like I said, paper's pretty easy to fix most of the time. You do not need to be a perfectionist to work with it. It's really forgiving. So there we go. I have my 2 sets of circles. I'm going to pull out my 12-inch trimmer again. And this is kind of fun. On our 12-inch trimmer, we're going to take and put that down. Get my stack of circles again. So I have kind of my one finger in here at the top. I'm going to actually, here we go. So this way all my circles are kind of balanced in their circles. I'm going to line this up with this top. You see how we have these 2 little insets on our 12-inch trimmer? If you go ahead and put your circles flush up to the top of your part here, that piece, it will center your circles for you. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this batch of circles in half. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this set into quarters, which those we do need to do individually, because of course they're all different now. So let's go ahead again and find our middle as best we can here. Like I said, this one you don't really need to be 100% precise because of how busy the design is. On other things you might want to be a little more precise, but for this particular art, I don't think we need to be super duper precise about it. And you can kind of see as we got a little smaller, it's a little easier because you can see on our grid lines that we're really close to being centered there. And if you want to make it exact, go ahead and make it exact. That's your choice. My choice is I don't really think I want to deal with all that. It's just, it's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be relaxing, and having to get every single circle exact at a quarter is not my idea of fun as much. Okay, so that's her stack of quarter circles, I should say. And now I'm going to take our custom cutting system circle and do the same thing. Cut it in half and then into quarters. Oh, I didn't get my blade all the way up through the top of that. I'm just going to grab my scissors and make a quick snip. There we go. I'm just going to go ahead and stack these 2, which they're not exact. As you can see, I'm okay with that. If you're not, then go ahead and do it how you are, okay? I'll go ahead and separate these because it's just easier. There we go. Okay, so there's our inner quarters. Okay. So we have all those quarters cut. We're going to go ahead and take our second set that we had separated out a moment ago from our first cutting of the circles. And I'm going to go ahead and lay them the same way I did the first time. So that way they are all kind of flush with this center part. Make sure that they're all kind of touching up here. And those are just going to get cut in half. There we go. So then we have our stack of half circles, and finally we are going to keep our other set of circles intact. Oops. Let me move my trimmer here. And we're going to keep these intact. However, we are going to go ahead and do the same thing we did with the other set. We are going to go ahead and separate out every other circle by size. And because when we go to place them in our design, we want our circles to have a little bit of space in between them. Okay, this one I need to fix with my scissors, which is okay. There's 2 rings here. So the next one I will just place in with my larger set. Here's my smaller set. I believe this was my next larger one, and you just kind of just giving it a little shake here to so I can find the largest circle. And there we go. I will go ahead and get these in the camera for you so you can see them and how it all kind of worked out. So this is my custom cutting system one. I'm going to take my scissors and just get this last little bit here. There we go. I just hadn't engaged my blade as much as I should have on that one apparently. When you do the circle cutter, make sure you are pressing down on the blade as well as engaging it. Engage it with the button, and you also have to press down for the blade to pop out. So you see here you're pressing and pushing, and you can see the blade there as I push down, as you're holding the center. So it does require a little bit of dexterity, but you wind up with some beautiful circles in the meantime. Okay, let me get my mat to work on so we can start putting together our art. So now I'm going to take my permanent tape runner, which for those of you who may not have seen other videos of mine, we have 2 types of tape runners. We actually have more than 2, but we have 2 primary ones. One is our regular tape runner, our permanent one, and it has a series of lines within the tape runner that makes it just a little bit more sturdy, if you will, and it'll stick a little bit stronger, faster than our other tape runner that we're going to be using. So let me go ahead and put down my base piece of designer paper here, lining it up on my cardboard base that came out of the frame, the piece that had the broken back on it. And then our second tape runner is our repositionable tape runner. And I'll try to hold it up so maybe you can see that there's a series of dots in this one. And the dots do hold really well, but they also allow us to maneuver our pieces quickly. So like right now, if I wanted to pick up this piece, I could, but it's not easy. Whereas when I'm working with the repositionable tape runner, it's a lot easier to kind of lift up and move around our pieces, which is something that we might need to do as we create our design on our base here. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to run a series of our repositionable tape through my designer paper here. I'm just filling in as many spaces as I can see. You can see where the repositionable is on the page, but I want to make sure I have a lot of my page covered, so that way my circles will stay in place when I go to put them down. And it's virtually almost invisible to the eye once you have it. So I'm going to start with my largest circle and get that one placed kind of centered on my board here. Let me place a piece of cardboard underneath this so that way it won't be quite so loud on my craft table here. Let me move this up just a hair so I'm on the camera a little bit better for y'all. Okay, so I'm working with this one set that we created with our largest circles here to my right here. I'll get it on the camera a little bit better for you. And I'm just taking the outermost circle each time and I'm gonna center it as best I can. If I need to maneuver it, I'm gonna use my repositionable tool to place it a little bit over from where I am, but currently they seem to be going down nicely for me, so I'm trying not to jinx myself here with getting these placed. And because the circle cutter only goes to 3 inches, we kind of are going in just a little bit more here with our 2 pieces from the custom cutting system, which is why I wanted to kind of bring in the rest of the circle patterns here. I'm going to place my half circles kind of together based on size, which is a little bit fussy, but you kind of want to keep them separate if you can, so you know as you're working down which size piece you're working from. And of course I'm putting my larger pieces to the outside and my smaller pieces more inside. Here we go. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and place my 2 largest half circles here, coming from either end. So let's get that down. And like I said, the one nice thing about working with paper is it's pretty forgiving. If we wind up going off of the edge of the mat, it's no big deal. We can just grab our scissors and fix that at the end. Here we go, the next 2 smaller ones, because remember when we cut these every other. So we'll have our definition of our rings again, going smaller as we go. Oops. This one needs the multi-purpose tool just a little bit to help out. Here we go. And you can just go underneath it. It'll lift it up from the repositionable tape and you're in business again. This one needs a little bit of repositionable tape at the end here. So I'm going to add a little bit. Grabbing my next half circle. Placing that down. Whoops. There we go. As we're getting smaller, it's getting a little fussier. Okay. There's that one. And I'm keeping this pattern mostly showing showing all the single side of our page, but if you wanted to do a more unique and you weren't actually trying to copy a design like I am, you could easily use the opposite side of our page, or from one of our other paper packs. We have all of our designer papers are double-sided, which allow for just some beautiful options and designs when doing our scrapbooking and cards and whatever other projects you want with paper, like this fun art project that we're working on today. Wall art. All right, here's another place where we need just a little bit more repositionable tape. And I need to cut our next circle in half here. I'm going to go ahead and move where I'm working so I can put this on the camera for you. This circle is a little bit over an inch. So our grid lines get darker as they are on the full inch, and then you can count in 1/4 inch each grid line. So I'm lining this one up here using the grid lines just to know that I'm getting close to the center of my circle. I'm going to stick my finger in there. I'm going to hold it in place with my multi-purpose tool because I don't want my circle to move as I cut it. And let's see, I did not get the bottom part because you need to press down to engage your blade. There we go. We have a half circle now. And could I have taken my scissors to have done that? Sure, probably. But I didn't because I wanted to show you the grid lines, but it's also a little more precise on the 12-inch trimmer. There we go. So now we have all of our quarter circles as well. And I'm going to, again, separate these out largest to smallest. We probably could have done this while we were cutting, but, you know, hindsight. Okay, so now we are going to start going in from our corners as well. And I'm going to see if we want to do more. We probably should cut these in half again, because then as we come out, we'll be going up this way. So go ahead and cut your last 2 circles from your custom cutting system small circle on your 12-inch trimmer again, and just inside the 3/4 of an inch is where we're going to get our halfway point. Grab my multi-purpose tool again to help me hold it in place. Got my blade through the bottom part and now through the top. Here we go. I'm going to set those at the bottom of my stack of quarter circles. Again, here we go. Just inside the 3/4 inch mark. Get my tool here to help. It's always handy to have tools that are able to assist. And we are going to need to add a little more repositionable tape. I am going to go back and rub out some of the extra repositionable tape that we have on here. But right now we need to run some of it over our pieces we've placed so that way we can stick our quarter pieces in. Coming in from our far end here. Woo. Okay, we're going to take our half circles that we just cut. We're going to come up from each corner at an angle. And then, like I said, later we're going to take our scissors, so it's okay if it hangs off the end just a little bit, because I already have, as you can see, several of my half pieces are hanging off as well. And if you don't feel like cutting it, it's going to go in the frame anyways, and nobody's going to see that it's a little bit just outside the lines, because the frame is going to hide it anyways. So here we go. Just start placing your quarter circles coming up from each of the half circles that we cut, centering it as best as you can. And you know what? I think we're actually gonna skip one on each of these. So I'm gonna take off these two corners. I'm gonna put down just a little bit more there. So I'm gonna go with this next one here on each corner. And it's gonna be every other. So I'm gonna take these two. That's the next size up from the opposite corner from where I was just working here, to layer in my quarters, and then again grab the next two up for the opposite corner here. Well, maybe not. Maybe as you go, you do need that extra layer in between. You do. Okay. So let's go ahead and layer it in. And like I said, it's okay if we need to trim a little. This piece needs to move down a bit and over. Let me get a little more. So I have omitted a few pieces that are at my top here. Some of these skinnier pieces that just don't make as much sense. Actually, we probably can place well, that one actually can go in here and give us an extra layer in between our custom cutting system circle there. Here we go. Continuing on with my quarter circles. Here we go. Oops, that one wound up off a little bit. Let me fix that angle. These are the largest quarter circles going down here. And it's okay if they overlap a little bit because that's how it is in the inspiration piece as well. And finally, we have our other set of circles. So let's go ahead and rub off some of our extra repositionable tape that we just don't want to be visible when we put our picture into our frame. And you can see I'm just taking my finger and it's coming right up. It's so easy to work with. We could have used a glue pen underneath these really thin strips, but honestly this is quicker and it really doesn't take very long to get this excess out from in between these pieces here. I've now rubbed off pretty much all the repositionable tape that you could see before between the circles. It's a much cleaner look now, and I am going to take my board and I am going to add some repositionable tape onto each one of these circles, just kind of going around. I'm going to start with this larger one, and because I don't want to create too many layers of tape on my board, so I'm just going to go around here and let my parchment board catch whatever's left. And like I said, if you want to do the entire project this way, I mean, you're obviously not going to be holding up the parchment board the way I was there, but I wanted to be able to place my circle. And because the inspiration piece does have some actual height to it, we're going to add our extra circles to our center circle to kind of make that the statement part of our design. Okay. So layering in these circles again, right into our middle of our piece. Okay. And now that I have most of these placed, you really don't even know where those little pieces that kind of got off just a little bit from our cutting wound up in this design, because it really is a busier design with all of these layers of circles in it. Whoops, almost put my tape on the wrong side of my paper. That's never fun, but as you saw, it's easy enough to rub off. If I had done it, that's just what I would have done. I would have gone and rubbed along with my finger and taken it out, taken off the extra. Here we go. All right, our last piece is down. If you want, you can just kind of rub gently over again, make sure there's nothing else loose. I am going to take my micro tip scissors. These actually have a special coating on them, so no matter how much you cut through things that have been taped or glued, it is not going to stick to your scissors. It's not going to goop them up at all. I'm just going to run along and take out the ends of my strips that are really hanging out far from my base, my frame piece here. And then, like I said, these scissors have a special coating on them. They are fantastic. They are my favorite pair of scissors. If you'd like a pair, you can take a look at my website. The link will be below this video. Okay, so there we go. We're done. That is our circle art inspired piece here. Let me move this out of the way. I'm going to get my frame back. And it is dry. I only put the one coat of the black on it, and I left the original braiding the same color that it was, which was almost like it was a darker brown than the original brown of the frame, which was this kind of yellowed color, which I didn't really care for with our paper. So I'm going to pop in my art piece here. So I've gone ahead and I've gotten my piece back into my frame. I've opted not to put the glass in with it because our inspiration piece looks more like a piece that is in a shadow box. And I'm just taking my multi-purpose tool and I'm kind of going to run it through the edges here just to make sure that everything is in, laying nicely and precisely. And there you have it. Our art piece, our wall art. And you can see it compared to the inspiration piece. Ours is just on a little bit of a smaller scale. And I'm going to hang this on my wall. I think it turned out beautifully. And I hope you all did too. Please leave me some comments with what you think. I spent $4 on the frame. I don't know where, at a yard sale, at a thrift store at some point in time. And then I used 3 pieces of designer paper from our Devotion paper pack from Creative Memories. The link to purchase the paper is below this video. The paper pack is $10. I mean, really, for under $20 with the paint, which I borrowed the paint from a friend. I didn't even use that much of it to paint up our frame here. So the paint was free. I spent 14 bucks instead of $250 that they're charging at Crate and Barrel. Hope you all enjoyed this. Thank you so much to the Latina next door for hosting this challenge. I had so much fun. I hope you all did too. And maybe you learned a thing or two along the way. Until next time.